At the heart of gamification is the quest for creating engaging experiences. There is a discipline dedicated to this, and it is known as UX design. UX stands for User Experience. If you've never heard of it, that's okay. I hadn't either. Okay, I have two questions for you. The first question is the easier of the two. If you're going to be a UX designer, who are your users? The second and harder question will come after we take a quick look at what UX designers think about their field.
I think of user experience design as the science and the art of producing an emotional reaction by engaging people.
I would describe it as creative, empathetic problem solving through design.
UX design is the process of designing experiences for users. It's creating solutions and processes to enhance their lives.
So UX design to me is really two things. I mean, it's the process, but also the end result. When we're looking at UX from a design perspective, from a process perspective, for me, it's really a combination of design thinking, which is an iterative process with a user-centered approach, in addition to taking business goals and user needs into consideration.
There's a lot to unpack from that short 1-minute clip. Instead, I'll ask the harder question now. Have you ever asked yourself if you would want to be a student in your own class? Regardless of your answer, the fact that you're here means that you care and are ready to create more engaging experiences for your users. I mean students. Some of you have gotten into this video after having completed some or maybe all of the challenges in this gamified training. Others decided to skip the game and get straight to the how-to. So without further ado, let's see how you can build a simple achievement system using free tools in order to enhance your student experience. So on screen you're seeing a Google document, and it really is as simple as having a Google document with a table and rows for each student. Along the left-hand side, you'll see that we have the learner tag, gamer tag, whatever you'd like to call it. It should be anonymous. You don't have to have text in your badges. We'll look more later at badge design. But if you didn't have text in there, this is a great place to name your badges. So I want to start by showing you the end product, and then we're going to show you how to build it. So let's say lifelong learner is one of my students, and they completed the tasks necessary to earn a badge. All I have to do is go to that badge, click it, and then find in my toolbar this reset image. And if I give that a click, you'll notice that it brings the color back to that badge. And so students aren't going to be notified, but a recommendation would be that a view-only version of this Google Doc be posted to your Google Classroom or teacher web page. That way anyone can come in and check their status as to the achievements that they've accomplished. Another little tip here that I have for you along with these badges is, I'm going to undo that, is I use alt text so that students can figure out what it is they need to do to achieve that badge. So for instance, if you mouse over this and let your mouse stay there, the text that pops up gives an explanation of what that badge indicates of the learner. So let's get started by showing you how to get this Google document up and running. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to navigate over to this file menu since I'm inside of a Google document, and I'm going to go to the new menu and then choose document. If by chance you're not already in a Google document, of course you can create a blank Google Doc from Google Drive by going to the new button, choosing Google Doc, and you can click right here or go over here to blank document. Either one of those will work, but I'll do what I first said I was going to do. Alright, we have our blank Google document. First thing I like to do is give it a title, and we're going to call this Demo Achievements Board. Demo Achievement Board. Hit enter to confirm that title. And now all I need to do is insert a table. Of course, you can do all sorts of fun things with this. You can give the page background a color. You can add images or whatever, give it titles. I'm just going to keep this no frills for now, just to show you the basics. So to get started with the table, I'm going to choose to insert. I'm going to choose table, and I use the first 2 rows for the title of the table and then the names of the badges. And then there should be a row for each student. So if I'm going to say I have 2 students, so that would be 2 for the placeholder items and then 2 students. And let's say I'm going to give out 4 badges. I'm going to need the first column for their names and then additional 4 more badges. So 5 by 4 to accommodate my 2 students and 4 badges. Giving that a click. First thing I'm going to do after that is I'm going to highlight my first row. I'm going to right click after I highlight them and choose merge cells. I like to center my text, and I'll give this some title format, and I'll say chapter 1. Okay, and then over here I give this the learner tag, whatever you'd like to call it, and then we're going to give this a name of badge 1, badge 2, badge 3, and badge 4. I'm sure you would come up with something much more creative than that. I'm going to highlight that and center that as well. Now, over here is where I'm going to have the what you can earn. You can earn, just to make it fit. All right, and then put the images for my badges here. Below this, we're going to create some more rows. So I'm going to just right click inside of this row, and I'm going to choose insert row below. I can highlight 2 and insert 2 below. So for the amount of students that you have, you're going to create the number of rows. So I could put in, after my students submit to me their gamer tag, learner tags, their pseudonyms, I'll put them into the table here, and we'll just call this learner tag 1. And now we just have to get our badges created. There are so many options that you have out there to get your badges created using paid tools, free tools. We're going to stick with the free tool. We're going to stick with a Google tool, and we're going to use a Google drawing. So I'm going to come up to the File menu and choose New. Once again, you can do this from Drive as well. Going to the drawing, we're going to call this First Badge. I hit enter to confirm that it's all saved, and now what I want to do is I want to make my badge square. So I'm going to come up to the File menu. I'm going to go down to Page Setup. Right here where it says Standard 4:3 ratio, I want to click on this and choose Custom. And I want to set my units, instead of being inches, I want to change it to pixels. And I change the value of the first unit to 300. And the height to be 300 as well. So both of these are the same. You can use whatever numbers you like, but to make it square, obviously they're both going to be identical values. Clicking OK changes my canvas to be square as well. If you're curious about it, and if you can pick this up in the recording, about the checkerboard appearance, that indicates transparency. So you have the ability to create transparent graphics. So if you don't fill up the full box with a solid color, and you put this over top of a background, you'll be able to see through it. There's all sorts of ways to design a badge. I usually start with a shape as a background, and so I'll come up to my shape menu, and inside here I'll look for a shape that looks fun. Let's go with this guy here. What's this one called? Mouse over it. Teardrop. Let's go with a teardrop. And so I'm going to click it, and I'm going to go to my canvas, and I'm going to begin to click and drag. And you can see that if I'm just clicking and dragging, I can squash it or stretch it. But what I normally like to do is hold down the Shift key as I click and drag to constrain it to equal proportions. Okay, so once I have it generally the size I'd like, I'm going to let go. That's not particularly centered, so one of the nice things is there are these smart guides that will help you snap your items, your objects on your canvas to specific locations. So I'm going to begin to click and drag, and you'll notice that, oh, there was one. There is the horizontally centered. Now I'd like to make it vertically centered, and now I know it's perfectly centered inside of my canvas. With this, I can also begin to do things where I change the fill color. Perhaps I don't like this fill color. Maybe I'm doing a badge about water conservation. Because this is a teardrop, it kind of looks like a water. Let's make it look more like a water drop. Let's change its fill color by going up to the bucket here. I could choose a dark blue, something like that might scream more of a water drop. But I also want to call your attention to the fact that you can, right now we're looking at solid colors. We could make it transparent. We're not going to look at that right now. We could go to gradient, and perhaps this gives it a better three-dimensional sort of appearance. Okay. You might also notice, and I'm going to deselect this object so you can hopefully see it better, is that there's a black line around the outside of this. Google Drawings calls it a border. In other design programs, they call it a stroke. So I'm going to click it to activate it again, and this is where you make adjustments to the border or stroke. So if I wanted to, first thing I'm going to do is dial up the thickness. Let's go 4 times as thick. Now you can really see that border there. And maybe I don't like the black color. I can go over and change it to something. Oh, let's go with a lighter blue. Okay. And you can see there that you don't even have to have a border if you don't want. You can choose transparent. And then the border goes away. So let's go with gray. There is my shape so far. I did say that we wanted to make it look like a water drop. You can also rotate these guys here. So if I go up to this top toggle, and I want to get a crosshairs, if I click it, I can then change and it'll tell you the degrees of rotation. So let's make it look a little bit like that. Let's go with that number right there, 330 degrees. Okay, I'm going to drag it down a little bit since it's off the canvas. There's my water drop. Another thing is you'll notice these yellow toggles. If you click it and drag it, you can change attributes. So maybe I want my drop to be less teardroppy, if that's a word. I can go inverted too. It looks like I can make Pac-Man out of this. Alright, who knew? I'm going to go back to where I was by undoing that. And the next thing I want to do is make it a little bit more visually appealing. And I want to call your attention to some sites that I've used to get some nice graphics that might be related. So a website that I like to use is Pixabay. And what I'll normally do is I'll come up to this search bar here and I'll change it to things like vector graphics or illustrations. So if I choose illustrations and type in water, let's see what I get here. Alright, so I'm going to click this frog. So here's the frog. We want to download the frog to our computer. I'm going to choose to download the frog. And what we're going to do is I'm just simply going to drag the frog in and drop it right on my canvas. That is a big frog. It also looks like he has a border. I'm not particularly interested in that border, so I'm going to turn off the border by making it transparent. And I also think the frog is a little too large. Wouldn't you agree? So I'm going to go to this top corner and I'm going to drag down on the frog to resize it. Okay. So you can add text to this as well. So let's go to this text box. And I'm going to click and drag out a text box. And we're going to call this Water Warrior. Now, this font right here, it'll work if you like Arial, but I do want to call your attention to the fact that you have so many fonts available to make this your own, or for students to make this their own. Coming up to the font menu here, you have a whole bunch of fonts available to you, but even more if you choose this more fonts. Particularly, I think if you go to the show all fonts and look at the handwriting or display ones, that you're going to find a lot of fun ones there. So just for now, what I'm going to do is choose Water Warrior again and change the font to Annie Use Your Telescope, just because I think it's a little fun font. And I think 14 is a little too small. Let's dial that up to 24. And let's see if I can get it to go all in one line. And maybe I want to put it on the frog's back. So I'm going to rotate that. And then drag it right there. Okay. Let's change its color to white. That looks a little cleaner. Alright, so there is our badge. Let's call this our badge. And we're ready to make it available to our students. So we go back to our board. In this what you can earn area here, let's call this our first badge. I'm going to go up to the Insert menu, Drawing, from Drive. And remember I called it First Badge. So there's my first badge. I'm going to click it and choose Select. I could link to the source. I'm not going to do that. I just want to choose to Insert Unlinked. And there's my badge. So what I can do at this point is if I had a whole bunch of students and I got the badges in there, what I can do is select the cell, copy it, and then paste it in. Before we duplicate them, we want to just adjust a few settings to make them sort of inactive or that they haven't been earned yet. So click on the image to select it and go to Image Options in the toolbar. And then over to where it says Recolor, we're going to go down to this guy right here. I'm going to give that a click. That makes it grayscale. Another thing I like to do is bring that transparency to about 50%, so it really even lightens it up some more. You can go to whatever one you like. Alright, some value that you like, just to go above. We'll go to 75 there. Remember we talked about the alt text. So I'm going to right click this image and go over to where it says alt text. And usually in both places is where I'll type in the text. So here's what this learner did to achieve this badge. And I'm going to paste it in here as well. Now, let's copy the whole image with its alt text and paste it into these guys. Now, if you mouse over it, you should get the alt text that pops up letting you know what this badge signifies. So they've earned it. It's time for them to earn their badge. Learner tag's done their water warrior duties. You click on that image and you select reset image, and now you can see that they've earned that badge. So remember, this system here has a lot of power, and it is a great way to begin to scaffold that extrinsic motivation for behaviors. There's so much more to gamification than just an achievement board or badges, and this is just a great simple step to begin to bring elements of gamification into your classroom, whether or not you're teaching how to play a piano or speak a language. It doesn't matter your content. This system or systems like these are great to build that gamification engagement. If you're interested in learning more about gamification and you haven't already checked out the video by Angeline Flores and Victoria Liatsakis, please do that. Also, the information out on the web there by Teched Up teacher Chris Aviles was fantastic. He has an amazing guide that I think would be worth it if you're interested in gamification. But of course, as always, your ed techs stand willing, ready, and able to help you as you try to move towards gamifying your classroom. I hope that you have enjoyed this training, and I look forward to providing more in the future and seeing you out in the classrooms.